Hi, Karin Weinstein here for Fit Bottom Girls. Thanks so much for joining me for this somatic yoga practice. Today we're going to be exploring the relationship between the spine, the core, and the low ribs. For this practice, all you'll need is some floor space or a yoga mat. And you might notice that as we go through the practice, it's a little bit different from your traditional yoga class. You'll notice that we move a little bit more slowly. You'll notice that some of the movements are smaller and more nuanced. And the reason for this is because I want to give you some time to really explore and get to know the aspects of the movements that I'm offering you. You may also notice that I ask a lot of questions, and I'm going to leave some open space so that you just have time to play with the movement options that I'm giving you. For this practice, we're going to start on the ground. So whenever you're ready, bring yourself down onto the floor. As you bring yourself down to the ground, you can either lie down with your knees bent and your feet flat on the floor if that's more comfortable for you, or you can extend your legs out nice and long and take up a little bit of space on the ground. Hands and arms can rest on your belly, or you could rest your arms down on the floor. And it's completely up to you whether you close your eyes or not, although I do find that when you close your eyes and you shut out all of the visual stimulus around you, it does help you to tune in a little bit more to what's happening internally. So settling in, maybe closing your eyes, and just taking a moment here to feel the support of the ground underneath your body. Feeling the firmness of the floor beyond your yoga mat. You might take a moment to notice the parts of your body that touch the ground, as well as the areas of your body that lift away from the floor, because we all have these beautiful natural curves in our body. You might start to become aware of your breathing. Check in and notice what your energy level is like right now. Notice how you're feeling, not only physically, but mentally and emotionally. And see if you can give yourself permission to just be as you are for this practice. There's no end goal. This is just a lot of open exploration. And I'm going to ask you to just kind of stay with yourself no matter what you notice. Sometimes it can be really hard to slow down and to be still because we live in a world that is just push, push, push and moves at a really fast speed. And sometimes when we step outside of that, it can feel a little bit uncomfortable. And if any of that is kind of bubbling up for you right now, just notice that that's there. Notice that there's some little edge that you're pushing against simply in taking some time to be still. And when you're ready, I'm just going to invite you to bring attention back to your breath again. And shifting your hand position so that you bring your hands to your front low ribs. And as you breathe in and out, just feel the movement of your low ribs under your hands. So you're just observing any movement of the low ribs as you inhale, and then also as you exhale. And then take a moment to shift your hands down to your belly. Doing the same thing, just noticing any movement of your belly as you breathe in and breathe out. And then let your arms and hands find a comfortable position either on the floor or on your body. Either one's fine. But we're going to take our attention now to the back of the body. So bring your awareness to the back of your head. Notice the back of your neck. There may be some space between the back of the neck and the ground because we have a natural curve there. Notice the spine between the shoulder blades, the upper back. As you bring your awareness down the length of your back, along your spine, you might notice that the low back curves away from the floor a little bit. That will be more so if your legs are outstretched, and maybe a little bit less so if your knees are bent and your feet are flat on the ground. You might feel the back of your pelvis resting on the ground, and see if you can find some awareness of your tailbone. And with your attention at the back of your body, see if you can feel how the back of your body shifts against the ground as you inhale and exhale. And if you need to take a few deeper breaths in and out to become a little bit more aware of the way your body moves, that's okay. You can deepen your breath for a few cycles and then just fall back into your natural breathing pattern. Sometimes those deeper breaths give us a little bit more information. And then see if you can start to bring your attention specifically to your spine. And as you breathe in, can you feel any change in the relationship between your spine and the floor? And as you breathe out, do you notice any change in the relationship between your spine and the floor? Are there areas of your spine that lift a little further away? Are there areas of your spine that feel a little heavier on the ground? And there are no right and wrong answers because everyone's body is different. So I'm just asking you to notice what you're aware of in your own body. And that could be nothing right now. Because remember, if you're new to this, there's a lot of nuance that we're trying to notice. And that can take a little while to get used to. So if there's not much that you're aware of right now, that's okay. Just let that go. Let's take another round of breath. And then when you're ready, I'm going to have you bend your knees and put your feet flat on the floor. So if you had your legs outstretched, bend your knees, put your feet flat on the floor. For most of us, that's going to bring more of the low back in contact with the ground. And if you'd like to see for yourself, stretch your legs out for a moment. See if you can feel the shift in the low back. And then bend your knees and put your feet flat on the floor. And see if you can just notice that little bit of a subtle difference. And then from here, take your arms down by the sides of your body. And when you're ready, I'm simply going to have you lift your arms off the floor, reaching your fingertips toward the ceiling. And then continue to float your arms as if you're going to reach beyond the top of your head. And as you do this, notice how your low back wants to arch off the ground. The middle back might want to arch off the ground. The low ribs want to lift off the floor. And you're not doing anything to keep that from happening. And then slowly take your arms back down by your sides and just let your spine do what it does. So we're going to go back and forth with this particular movement. So we're repeating the same movement several times in a row. And we're just noticing the changing relationship between the back of the body and the floor as we take the arms overhead and then bring them back down by our sides. So you may notice that as you go to take the arms overhead, your whole spine really wants to help you accomplish that mission. And then you might notice what's going on with the low ribs. If the back is arching, that's usually going to lift those low ribs up toward the ceiling. See if you can notice that also. And then as you bring your arms back down by your sides, you might notice that the ribs kind of settle against the front of your body again, and more of your back comes in contact with the ground. So again, see if you can let this be like a moving meditation. Close your eyes and just really pay attention to the changing relationship between your back and the floor as you move your arms. We'll just do this one more round. So one more time, taking the arms overhead and then bringing the arms back down by your sides. Okay, now I want you to see if you can keep as much of the back of your body against the floor as possible. So you could even think about kind of pressing your low back into the ground a little bit here. Think about pressing the back of the ribs down into the ground. So we're trying to get as much contact between the back body and the floor as possible now. Take your arms down by your sides and just notice, did just that effort alone of trying to take as much of the back body against the floor as possible, has that changed any tension anywhere? Like I notice tension up through my calves and the back of my legs when I do that. I notice some tension in the core. And then take your arms down by your sides. Keep as much of your back against the ground as possible. And begin to take your arms up off the floor, floating the fingers toward the ceiling. And then continuing that movement to start to reach over the top of your head. And just notice your shoulder range of motion might feel a little different here, because before the spine was helping us lift our arms, and now we've kind of eliminated that as a possibility. And then we'll take the arms slowly back down by our sides. So now you're trying to engage through the core to keep as much of your back on the ground as you can as you take the arms overhead. So don't worry if you're not reaching as far over your head as you were before. That makes a lot of sense, because now your spine isn't enhancing the movement of your shoulders. It's not contributing anything or helping you reach overhead. And just notice, what muscles did you have to engage to keep as much contact between the back body and the ground as possible? And at the same time, you might notice, are your ribs still lifting up really high? They should still be shifting a little bit, right? They need to move a little to take the arms overhead, but are they moving less? And then is there something you can do to keep those low ribs from moving at all? So if you really think about engaging through the core of your body, can you find a way of working there where you get minimal movement through those low ribs as you lift the arms overhead and then take them back down by your sides? Okay, it's a little bit of sneaky core work there, but take a moment now just to relax. You could sway your knees a little side to side if you'd like to. And then let's go ahead and just pull the knees in toward the belly for a moment. As you do that, you might notice that even more of your back makes contact with the floor. Go ahead and kind of rock side to side if that would feel good. And then when you're ready, we're just going to make our way over onto one side and then up onto our hands and our knees. So you're going to roll over, start to bring yourself up onto your hands and your knees. Get yourself set up in tabletop position here. And then bring your awareness to your low ribs. And as you set yourself up here, can you soften the front of your body and just let your low ribs kind of sag down toward the floor? So there's just no effort to hold your spinal position at all. Notice how this arches your back. And then we're going to do the exact opposite. Can you take those front low ribs and can you pull them as far away from the ground as possible? So focusing on those low ribs, releasing, letting them go, let gravity pull those low ribs down toward the floor. And then pulling your low ribs up away from the ground, getting as much distance between the low ribs and the floor as possible. And so yes, we are moving through cow and cat a little bit here, but maybe with a different awareness than we usually have. So let's just take one more round like that, softening through the front body, letting gravity kind of sag your back, pull those low ribs down, and then actively drawing the low ribs away from the floor. And then just come on back into a nice neutral position. Go ahead and curl your toes here. Push through your hands, start to float your knees up off the ground. You can keep your knees deeply bent here. Take a moment to just pedal your legs out a little bit. You might bend one knee and then the other knee, sway your hips a little side to side. The more tension you feel through your low back and your hamstrings, the more deeply bent you might want to keep your knees. We'll just take another breath or two here. And then we're actually going to start moving so that we can come up to stand. So you can either walk your hands back toward your feet, or you can walk your feet up toward your hands. Either one is fine. Take as many steps with your hands or your feet as you need. Once all of your weight is in your feet, bend your knees, push your feet into the floor, and just rise up to stand. If you want to reach overhead, you can. But just come up to stand. And if you're standing at the back of the mat, let's take a walk forward. And we'll just come into Tadasana. So finding mountain pose here, feeling like your weight is pretty balanced between your left foot and your right foot. I'm going to invite you to sway a little bit, shifting forward, weight in your toes, and then sway back a little bit, get your weight back in your heels. And just play with that for a moment, shifting the weight forward and back until you find that spot where you feel like your weight is perfectly balanced between your toes and your heels. And once you've found that spot, see if you can also find an awareness of the skull, over the shoulders, over the ribs, over the pelvis, over the feet. See if you can let your shoulders just hang nice and heavy here, arms hang nice and heavy. Relax as much of your body as possible. I know that's harder to do standing, but see how much you can let go of the muscles in your body and just let your bones do the work of holding you upright. And then when you're ready, we're going to start to reach the arms straight out in front of us, just like we did on the floor, and we're going to continue that movement, reaching the arms overhead. Let your spine help you reach your arms overhead. So you're going to allow your low back to arch. You're going to let those ribs lift up in front, and then bring your arms back down by your sides, and notice how the ribs settle back down, and we come back to having those nice natural curves in the low back. Let's just try that a couple of times. So again, we're not trying to fight against what the body wants to naturally do. Your spine wants to help you lift your arms. Let your spine help you lift your arms. And then go ahead and bring your arms back down by your sides. And let's just do that one more time. So we'll sweep the arms forward and up. Let the back help. Let the ribs help. Get the arms up. And then sweep the arms all the way back down. And now this time, we're going to use some of what we learned when we were down on the ground. I want you to imagine what you did to keep as much of your back against the floor as possible when we were on the ground. And what did you do to keep those low ribs from lifting up when you took your arms overhead? Keep in mind, you may not be able to lift your arms as far overhead as you were doing just a moment ago. So see if you can kind of engage through the core, take a little bit of that low back curve away. See if you can let your arms come down by your sides. And now as you take your arms forward and up overhead, can you feel that there's a little more core effort to keep the back from arching and to keep those front ribs from lifting up? And then take your arms back down. And again, neither one of these is right or wrong. They're just two different movement options, two different movement possibilities. You might do one when you want to arch your back, and you might want to do one when you want to focus on your core a little bit. And we'll just take the arms back down. Let's just do that one more time. So keeping everything kind of integrated here, taking the arms up overhead, and then taking your arms back down by your sides. And then we're going to take this into a yoga pose. So we're just going to come into a nice high lunge. So shift your weight to your right foot. Take a giant step toward the back of the mat with the left foot landing on your left toes. You can moderate this for your body. So if you feel like your feet need to be a little closer together, that's fine. You don't have to have a huge lunge. Let your arms come to rest here, and notice how when you're in this position, we're kind of in a back bend on the left side of the body with that left leg extended behind us. And so right away, because we're in that back bend, the ribs just kind of want to stick out a little bit. Again, there's nothing wrong with that. Just let that be. Arms down by the sides of your body. Relax and let your spine help you lift your arms overhead. Let the low ribs lift. See if you can feel the arch in your back. Bring your arms back down by your sides. Let's just try that one more time because you know where we're going now. So take your arms up overhead. Let your spine help. Let the ribs lift. Take the arms back down by your sides. Now, think about what you learned in Tadasana and on the floor, and what could you do to keep these low ribs from lifting and to keep some sense of kind of integration or moving back through the back body a little bit. See if you can find that, and then take your arms up overhead. Keep in mind, shoulder range of motion might be reduced a little bit here. That's fine. And then take your arms back down by your sides. Okay, let's switch sides. Left foot steps forward. Take a moment to shake things out a little bit. And then we'll step the right leg back. So giant step back with the right foot landing on the right toes. Coming into a high lunge. Left knee is bent. Arms relaxed. And just notice on this side, does it feel any different? Your lunge might feel different from one side of your body to the other. That's fine. Notice any lift of the low ribs. And then when you're ready, you know where we're going. We're going to let the ribs and spine help us lift our arms up overhead. And then we're going to bring the arms back down. Notice how those ribs settle down again. One more time. Lifting the arms overhead. Feel the ribs lift. Again, nothing wrong with that. Take the arms back down. Okay, let's try and see if we can keep the low ribs from lifting this time. So what do you need to do in your core to keep these low ribs from lifting up when you take your arms overhead? And let's try it that way. Another movement option. Arms up overhead, shoulder range of motion might change here, and then release the arms down. We'll just do that one more time. Taking the arms up overhead and releasing the arms back down. Okay, let's step the right foot forward. Take a moment to shake things out a little bit. Take your arms, lift them up overhead, and then find a nice soft fold. So bend your knees, bring your belly down toward your thighs, bend your knees enough that your fingers can find the floor, and start to walk your feet back into downward facing dog again. Take a moment here just to breathe in your downward dog. And I'm just going to bring one thing to your attention here in downward dog. If you lift your chin and look out in front of you beyond your fingertips, can you feel how your low back wants to arch to help you do that? And then if you tuck your chin and think about looking at your own belly button, I can hardly talk like that. Can you feel how your spine wants to round to help you do that? And then bring your head to what feels like neutral and see if you can find a more neutral sensation in your spine. Take one more round of breath and just gently release your knees all the way down on the floor. If you'd like, you could bring your forearms down to the ground also and just take a moment to rest like this. If you like child's pose, you could take your knees wide, bring the toes together, shift your hips back toward your heels. I know that's not everyone's favorite resting posture, so you rest in a way that feels good in your body. Let's take another round or two of breath, maybe with some new awareness of the spine and the core and the ribs. And then whenever you're ready, if you came back into child's pose, come all the way back up onto your hands and knees and just start to make your way back down onto the floor to lie down. So finding a nice comfortable position to lie in. Again, you could have your knees bent and feet flat on the floor, or you could outstretch your legs. Arms and hands, find a comfortable way to rest. And as you come down to the ground, I invite you, if it's comfortable, to close your eyes. And just notice what the relationship is now between the back of your body and the floor. What are you aware of as you breathe in and breathe out? Is there some heightened awareness of the movement of your spine or the movement of your ribs? Bring your awareness to your face. See if you can allow the muscles all around your eyes to soften. Soften your cheeks, your jaw. Let your head be nice and heavy. See if you can bring a sense of softness into the muscles right at the base of your skull. See if you can allow that to continue right down your spine, bringing some softness into the space around the heart, into the belly, allowing your pelvis to rest heavy on the ground, arms and legs heavy. And I'm going to leave you here if you have a little more time to rest and focus on yourself and your breath. I invite you to do just that. And either way, I am so glad that you took a little bit of time to join me today. Thank you so much.